Welcome to the spagirlspodcast, the self-publishing podcast for authors. You're in the right place for the best writing, marketing, and publishing advice, plus interviews with industry experts and best-selling authors. I'm Cheryl Phipps.
I'm Shah Barrett.
And I'm Wendy Bella. And hello, everyone.
Hello.
How are you?
Hey,
We have
hello.
Cher with us, who is exhausted.
I know.
Because she's been overseas
Fresh
learning.
off the plane.
Yeah.
But I feel like, excuse me today if I'm a bit blah, because I am a bit blah at the minute, right at this
She's
minute.
got all the knowledge just built up in her brain that
It's
she's
like
going to tell
sitting
us
there
all about
waiting
one day.
like a volcano, really.
That
to-
conference high. It's all
Yeah.
fine until
Absolutely.
3 o'clock in the afternoon when your body just goes, let me
all,
through.
Trudels is-
all that peopling, all that peopling.
Trudels is still sleeping, so we'll just leave her.
You know what they say?
love
Let
it.
what, sleeping dragons? I don't know. This
Yeah,
is
yeah, all of
something
that,
like
all of that. You're calling her a dragon. I'm telling her you said that.
I was going to
That's
say witch, but I quickly changed it to dragons.
Even better.
Shah,
True.
right,
We
stop
love you,
now, Shah.
Trudels. We love you,
Stop now.
Trudels. Okay. So we're a bit derailed.
On that
because
note.
I had a month away. Cher and Trudy have been away. We're all a bit crazy.
Yeah.
So on that note, we're just going to have a 5 quick tips for career growth today. That's what we're going to talk about. And we're going to start with consistency, no matter the speed. Now,
Yes.
we all need to be aware that we work at different paces. I think that's something that it took me a lot to get to that understanding in life. I work at a different pace from Cher. Cher works at a different pace from Shah. Shah works at a different pace from Trudels. You know, we're all very different. But
So it's going to look different.
Exactly.
Your life is going to look different.
Yes.
Your writing life is going to look different.
But we all feel like we need to jam into a square peg, a round hole square peg scenario.
That
And it
thing,
just
yeah.
doesn't work that way. You know what I
Or
mean?
jam as much work as we can into every day as well. I think there's that a lot of us feel like you don't get enough done, so you want to jam more in.
Yeah.
I think,
Yeah.
and learning what works for you and what doesn't, and when you can outsource. And I'm not financially, a lot of us can't afford to do that, but I think, we're learning on your strengths instead of chasing your tail. We talk about this a lot. Don't do a whole lot of things at half speed. Do 3 things really well.
Yeah.
It's like a reoccurring theme, isn't it? Telling people to just do what they can. But it's so important. And, like going away to conferences is especially relevant to how you see yourself, because you're seeing all these amazing people doing amazing things. And the biggest takeaway is that it's a learning curve to find out what kind of lifestyle suits you when you're an author and what's sustainable. And I was very, very proud. I was telling the girls before, very, very proud that consistency is actually number 4 on my
Clifton strengths all around the
on my
town.
what?
And your
Clifton
Clifton
Street,
strengths.
that thing,
Yeah.
the mental block thing.
And I also think too, it's all of us can pull out, we all probably all did it, at school. You can pull out an all-nighter and finish something or finish a book or whatever, but it's not good.
It's not
It's not
sustainable.
good for anything to do that repeatedly. So I think consistency
it's
is better
tiring.
from a reader perspective as well. If you can, if you're publishing a book, in January and then February and then March, and then you're exhausted, so you can't do another one until September, you're better off to spread them out so you're not, just giving that sort of uneven publication, particularly if it's a series. So you're far better off to build yourself extra time in.
But hats off
right
if you
from the
can,
start.
and that's your thing, go for it.
Oh,
But
if
I
you
think
can, you can
if
do
you
it. But I
can't,
also
and it's
think
not gonna
acknowledge
sustain
too.
you. Yeah.
That's right.
No,
Yeah.
I think I think if you
Definitely.
can possibly look at, especially when you're starting out, oh my God, this is the grace period, isn't it? So when you're starting out, if you can get maybe 3 books written, not how easy, that's ridiculous, but how much better it will be for you when you start publishing and have then something for them to go to for the next book.
Yeah.
It will just, I think, make you so much more visible than having one book languishing there for a couple of years until you get the next book written. Because some people, it's going to take you a year or 2 to write a book, and that's okay too. But if you have a plan going into it, instead of rushing like some people we know to get that first book out, it really is a good plan. That is good.
And it's very easy, even with how long we've been writing, to think I should be doing more. Why aren't I doing more? So-and-so's doing more, you know, and it doesn't help anyone. I find if I go out and I think, right, well, today I need to write 6,000 to 10,000 words, and I'll do a day like that, and then the next day I can't write. And that tells me that in actual fact, pace yourself. You can write, you know, so for me, it's I've learnt that in actual fact, 3,000 words a day or 2,500 words a day is fine. As long as I'm doing it consistently for me, because I need to write every day. Some people don't. Occasionally have a day off, don't get me wrong, and I do. But that if I've got a book on the go, I need to write it. You know, that's just how I roll.
And I think it flows on to the consistency with social media and with newsletters as well.
Oh, for sure.
And so again, build yourself in some grace there, rather than thinking I'm going to post every day. You do it for a month and then you burn yourself out. Just do it once or twice a week.
We've all done that too. We've all done the burning
Send
out.
it once a month initially if it's too overwhelming. You know, that's
But give yourself permission to not have to stress about if you don't post that day. You know?
And I would say, just in general, don't look at other people's schedules or production unless you know exactly what's behind the scenes in terms of help, availability, in the engine, all of that kind of thing. You don't know. So.
And you don't know who's working for them and how many assistants they've got. So moving on to number 2, diversification and being nimble. I think, Shah, you can head off on that.
So I'm big on being nimble. And this may sound almost the opposite of what we're saying about consistency, but I think nimble is when you are willing to maybe change up your covers, change up your blurbs. If trends change, for example, and you notice blurbs in your particular subgenre are becoming a lot shorter, then it's that kind of thing, as well as being nimble, not just being wed to one thing or one cover or that kind of thing. And I also think, you know, there's nothing wrong with changing up genres as well, subgenres too. You know, we've had a lot of authors on the podcast lately that are doing that, actually on the same pen name as well, which, you know, so I think it's important in this business because it is changing. Like to be honest, every business, you're a business person now when you're selling books for income. And so you have to be, I think it's really important to be aware of them. And I think it's also being the ability to be nimble within your own business is really, really important as well. And to also let go of things that aren't working. As much as it is taking on new things, it's also letting go of the things that aren't working too. And sometimes, rather than trying to flog a series, when I say flog it, not flogging a dead horse, that's a little cruel. But when you're trying to, if you're putting a whole lot of money into promoting a particular series and it's not working and the ads aren't working, maybe it's not the ads, maybe it's actually, it's just not vibing with the readers. So sometimes it's actually better to just, you know what, let's move on to something else. We can revisit it later, maybe, but...
Because readers are actually following trends at times. You know, if something comes out, if a movie comes out, or like, you know, how we saw with the Bridgertons, I mean, that sent a whole wave of new readers in that direction. And when they're done with that, they wanted more of the same. So if you were writing that, you know, you perhaps would have tweaked your covers to reflect it, or, you know, you're not actually changing the book as a whole, but maybe you're changing keywords or things like that. And being nimble, I think, is also about looking to make that book last, make that book find more readers, and those kinds of things can help you. Just little tweaks.
I think it's important to have a really good look at something if it's not working, and then go, okay, well, why is this not working? I've got one series that I've changed covers 4 times, you know. So for me, it was a case of, I loved the first covers. They didn't love me. So they had to be changed. You know what I'm saying? It's like,
right. We're not always the best judge, actually.
And look, and
true.
Be on your feet, be on your toes, but, you know, and just think, okay, well, what can I do that can change, you know,
and in terms of diversification, there's also the things that we've talked about a lot, which is, you know, maybe translations, audiobooks, that kind of thing. But it's also more than that too. I think it's maybe looking at, yes, there's special editions, but maybe it's something like trying out bonus material in a slightly different genre, or just testing in a different way. We've seen that happen as well, you know, with some authors with their existing, they're just maybe not going into a different lane, but they're just kind of slightly making the lane curve around a little bit
But
as well.
I would add to that you need to bed down a little bit too. Once you have made a change, if the first one hasn't worked,
Give it time.
Give it time.
Yeah.
Let it bed in, because you can't say after a week that cover's not working.
No, because you still had to get more eyes on it.
I think we'd like to add a B to this A, and that would be to be patient.
And maybe a C, do what you can afford.
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
You can't jump into all the things.
No.
And pay for it, and then be sitting back waiting for the money to come in, because maybe that wasn't what it needed to happen for you. Is the way.
Yeah. I think think that we're going to get it right every time is not going to it's not something we can afford as authors. We have to if it's not working, we change it. It may have worked for someone else, but it doesn't work for you. Okay.
Yeah.
We hammered that one to death. Number 3, AI. We don't actually talk about AI a lot.
We do not.
But
I think like everybody, we've each got our own opinions of usefulness versus risk, all of that. And we're not here, and we've never positioned ourselves as gurus in any of this, even though we'd like
never
to
taken
be
a stance either way either.
But it's a part of life. It's a fact of life. And so I think personally, I see a lot of authors on both sides of the AI argument, shall we say, putting a lot of energy into defending their position or their place, or trying to convince other people. And it's a little bit like when I'm trying to give my cat a pill, that no matter how hard you hold that cat and try and force that down their throat, they are going to spit it up at the end. And so therefore you come away bloodied, frustrated and scratched. And that is very similar
with no outcome.
With arguments on social media.
AI is here to say, right? That's the thing we need to point out.
But it's baked into everything we use. It doesn't mean you have to like it. But I guess what I'm saying is don't expend the energy trying to change other people's opinions, particularly other authors, because you don't know what their opinion is and you don't know what their use is. I'm using Pro Writing Aid. That's packed to the gunnels with AI, and not that I'm using it to rewrite, but and I think there's a lot of and it's very easy to get caught up into it. And also, please, please, please recognize that AI is controlling everything you see on social media. The AI algorithm, just as it is in Amazon, is feeding you more of what you're invested in or what you're arguing with. So every time you comment on a negative or a positive or whatever it is post, you're going to see more of that, and it can become really easy to feel like that's a lot bigger, and that's the world that you're in, kind of thing. It's really so I think take a step back, and I think stop trying to change other people's minds or
and
educate them.
Don't judge people either.
Keep your eyes on your paper and put all that energy into your own career instead of trying to change how somebody else does their business. Focus on your own.
Stay in your lane, and that's
eyes down, man. Eyes down.
I mean, AI is here to stay. I don't understand it, but I know it's all around me, everywhere. So what I'm trying to say is, don't judge others for using it.
Exactly. There's a whole lot of, it's not a black and white argument.
I mean, don't get me wrong. I think there are areas it shouldn't be used in, and they are being used in that way, but I'm not going to touch on those, and we all know what they are. And I do believe they're wrong, but the point of it is I can't stop it. It would be like me standing in front of a steamroller or whatever, or a train or a truck, and trying to stop that. It's just not going to happen.
With a finger, So you can either get run down by it, and like I say, I think the really important point is when everything's feeling like an echo chamber or a giant dumpster fire, be aware that the algorithm, particularly on social media, is feeding you more of what you're reading. Even if you don't click on anything or comment, when you pause on it, it's going to give you more and more and more of it. So it's scary, but
I think
look after your mental health on this one is what I'm trying to say.
I don't think there's really much more we can touch on that, because none of us are versed in it. So we're going to just leave that one there, and that's where we sit on that. And we're going to move on to number 4, which is personal connections are more important now than ever.
Which kind of goes, to be honest, with the whole one that we just discussed. Like, I think it's if you're feeling like the algorithms are taking over, shall we say, then this is actually, it's the personal connection. And I mean, you both have experienced that with real life people. Recently.
It is important to touch base with people, and not just occasionally. It doesn't have to be every day, but I harken back to when we were where am I living? Back to when we were
in the Regency era,
first in COVID, and we were all a bit manic, being stuck at home by ourselves, and often without seeing anybody else. And so we did these quick little snippets on YouTube and on our Facebook page, and things like that really got us through. And I know so many people felt exactly the same. So when you're in the author world, it's not just for you to be reaching out to people. It's also them, because people do feel alone, and I think this is something special that we share, being in the author world, is that kind of togetherness. Even when you're in your own house by yourself, there is that you can reach out if you choose, and you should.
And meeting readers too, and that sort of thing, and interacting with readers through emails when they're emailing you and stuff like that sort of thing. I think it's really important for this career to stay in touch with other like-minded people, because it is a solitary thing. We've said that a million times, but I think it's really good for our mental strength. And
money is one thing. Money is proof that you're doing well, but also social proof is good. It really is good. And when somebody just comes out of the blue and says, I just love that book, and I love those characters, and I love that world, and you're like, man, that is a big part of why I do this.
And haven't we all, I think all of us have a story or an experience where we've reached out, or maybe back in the olden days when there were carrier pigeons posting letters, when we posted a letter in there. I remember still now, I wrote a fan letter to Maggie Shane, who is one of my favorite paranormal authors, and she replied, and she was like, she sounded just as touched by my letter as I'd sent it, which stunned me. But I'll never, ever, 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 ever forget that, and I think now I think it's really important, if somebody leaves a lovely comment on a Facebook post or whatever, reply to it as an author, reply to emails. Don't
underestimate
take that for granted.
No.
I wrote to Diana Gabaldon after Gabaldon. I can never say the word after the first one. And I just said, thank you so much. That was an amazing era. And I got a reply. I don't know if it was from her. I think she signed it, but it was lovely, and I just
felt still an acknowledgement, right? I think it's really.
I think it is. I think it is really important to reach out and just communicate, and to keep those channels open. But I just want to. We move on to the last one, and that's you do you, don't be anyone else. And I think this is a massive topic, and it's something we in the Spire have talked about a lot. And I'm a shocker for comparisonitis, which is, as you know, one of the reasons I don't read how-to books, or anyone that's succeeding, I don't want to know about it. No, but that's not true.
That's not quite true.
No, not true at all. No, but what I'm saying
I'll give it to you on the how-to books.
But what I'm saying is I can easily be like, okay, well, if they're doing that well, why aren't I doing that well? Why can't I be and that's a thing that I have had to learn to get a hold of. But also learning what works for me, what my strengths are, what my weaknesses are, all of those sort of things. I think that really helped me with my author process to fine tune it down to where it is today, which is pretty manageable. I still write like a crazed chipmunk, but my career is manageable for me. And what I'm saying is, when you start out, learn to do you. Don't learn to do that author or that author or that author. Learn what works for you, because your systems will be very different from someone else's.
And I think when we're talking about our growth as an author,
Yeah.
It's not just the writing. It's your whole life. It's the whole world that you've built yourself, where you are an author. That is a big part of it. And for some of us, it's a major part of it. But there should be other things to make you well-rounded and to make you happy, really. What makes you happy? Is it just the writing? I don't think so. I think there are other things. I think it's the connections and pushing your career a bit further or going in different directions. That's all part of the growth. And that's, I don't know, we want to come to our desk and feel fulfilled and feel like, not maybe that we've got it all, but we're doing great, right?
Yeah.
We're doing
I think,
great.
look, honestly, I think anybody, no matter what the sales, that can actually finish a manuscript, whether it's 10,000 words or 100,000 words, and put it up, it's a huge, like, celebrate that, you know. And I would also say that we're talking about career growth, and I think it's true of pretty much every single person we've talked to, including ourselves. The growth isn't a steady line upwards. It goes up and then it goes down, and then it goes up and it goes down. Do not go into this business expecting 1 + 1 = 2, because sometimes it can equal 5, which is awesome. And then other times it can also include -5. Yeah. And so it's not consistent. Sales aren't consistent. And you've got to be think of it as the graph will be like kind of choppy water, choppy waves, because it's going into it expecting a smooth and incline up is setting yourself up for.
And I think, you know, expecting success overnight is not going to happen, especially in the industry we've got now. It's very different from when we started, but I think it's an exciting industry. I think it's an industry. It's a great one to step into now.
Absolutely. And there's so much more available now than there was when we started this podcast 9 years ago. Like the thought of authors having their own stores or having access to hardcovers was just mind-blowing. You know, that time people weren't, like, there was the odd print on demand, but it wasn't anywhere like what you could do now. So things are constantly changing, and it's constantly growing. And I think it's a really, if you feel like you didn't get into it in time, I think that's nonsense. You're in it exactly at the right time.
And we see that a lot. Oh, I'm too late for this. All right, there's no way I'm going to be able to do that now. Someone else has invented that or whatever. That's not the case. We see it all the time. Authors stepping in and doing well. I think it's if you've got a good book, if all your stars are in line insofar as edited with a good cover and you do your basics right, I think it's a great way to start, and you will achieve some success. But you just have to be, the caveat on that is it's going to take time.
Yeah.
You know, I really believe that.
Just be positive and do the very best you can.
Yeah.
Exactly.
And we believe in you.
Okay? Yes. We do.
Absolutely.
That's going to be our final on that. So you all have a good day, and we can be found, Shah.
We can be found at spagirlspodcast.com, and we can be found on YouTube. We were so close to the 3,000 subscribers. So close. I think we need about 70 more. And that was my goal for us for the end of 2024. So if you could go along and subscribe at YouTube and just Google on there, but we're at Spagirls Podcast on YouTube, you would have our eternal thanks.
And you would make our lives easier, because you would stop harping
It would
on
stop
about
me.
it.
It would stop me begging.
You know, like, please do it for us. Think of us.
Yeah. And we can also be found at patreon.com if you'd like to come and join us in our little mastermind group, which is intimate and very honest feedback and support for your publishing journey.
Nice. All of that, all of what you said, I second. All right, and we will see you next week.
See ya.
All right.
Bye.
Bye.
Keep well. Bye.